Hello and welcome to the Source One podcast, your online or on-the-go source for the latest insights in the procurement, supply management, and strategic sourcing industry. Today's guests are Lazzara and Kaitlyn Krigbaum of MRA Global. In this session, we talk about the outlook for the supply management profession.
So, seat at the table, the sort of the vision that, or the foresight that Nick mentioned the candidate needs to have. But I have to imagine, as with all professions or jobs, that there's the factor of how much companies are willing to pay to secure those resources. So, in your experience, are companies willing to pay more to secure the top talent?
Well, maybe we're biased, but if you took a poll of recruiters, I'd say the majority have interacted recently with significantly undercompensated or underemployed candidates. And as the outlook of hiring continues to improve and a growing number of these top performers seek to improve their current employment situation, companies are going to face increasing retention issues if they're not prepared to offer competitive comp. And in some cases, we've seen our clients go the extra mile to secure top talent, typically see great ROI from it, but far too often we see prospective employers' hiring efforts are stunted by offering lower than expected salaries to candidates.
So if hiring efforts are going to be stunted by employers offering lower than expected salaries, is your sense that the jobs, or rather that the employers think that the jobs will just fill themselves, that if they pass over someone who they think is asking too much, that there's plenty of other candidates who will fill that spot? Or is it more that there's a stalemate between companies with vacancies who aren't enticing the right candidates and candidates who aren't willing to negotiate or take a salary lower than their expectation?
That's a great question, and a lot of times we do think candidates have this feeling that these positions will fill themselves, right? We've seen companies pass on decent candidates, or when they finally do find one, get stuck on the comp piece and have had positions open now for sometimes upwards of a year with a ton of opportunity cost lost.
Yeah, and another reason these vacancies exist would be because these job offers are being rejected as a result of candidates accepting other offers, which I think continues to demonstrate that despite being committed to the hiring process here, employers are still losing top performers to lengthy practices and lower than expected salaries, and also just a poor job of selling the company, the role, or the advancement opportunity in general. So I think these companies continue operating with the mindset that there's an abundance of candidates all willing to jump through hoops to get at their job or their company, and that's just not the case anymore in a candidate-driven environment.
Sure. So it's a mix of you have to strike while the iron is hot, but you also have to strike it well. You can't hit the wrong part. You have to hit it on target and do it at the right time when the candidate who you want, who's the ideal fit, is still available.
You got it, Ken.
Exactly.
What do companies need to do to attract and retain that top talent?
So I think there's a number of changes. One would be shorten the interview process. We've touched on this a few times, but ensuring also that we're courting top candidates just as much as they're evaluating them during interviews. Citing positives on the company, the boss, career path, right, the advancement piece, culture, flexibility. And when it comes to offer time, putting your best foot forward.
And on the flip side, what does talent need to do to get hired?
On the talent side, I think continuous education is always a differentiator. So some of the bigger, more well-known certifications, CPSM, Certified Professional Supply Management, MBA, Six Sigma certifications are certainly highly valued by prospective employers. And above all else, really continuing to build and nurture your network. So according to Forbes, you're twice as likely to get interviewed and 40% more likely to get hired if you're referred. And that's the advantage of using recruiters, really, right? We can present you directly to the hiring manager so you don't get stuck in a logjam of resumes on HR's desk if you decide to apply directly.
I think that makes perfect sense. There's a sense that networking will pay dividends down the road. I mean, it might not have an immediate impact, or it might, but if you make a positive impression in someone's mind, when the right circumstances arise, they'll think of you and get in touch. And that might just be the edge you need to rise above your competitors, right? You also mentioned continuous education, and I like that you use that phrase. During my time as a consultant, there were times when managers were pushing heavily on their staff getting certifications, so Lean Six Sigma, Green and Black Belt, or knowledge management or project management professional, PMP. You use the term continuous education as opposed to just calling them certifications. It seems to me that just having a certification, it doesn't necessarily mean you're an expert in something. What it really means is that you paid for a course and passed an exam. Now, that's not to take anything away from those certifications and their programs, because it's worthwhile knowledge. But my question is, what experience have you had where employers are looking for just someone to have a certification versus being able to demonstrate a competency? Is it something where it's a disqualifier, where they can just slap that on there and shorten or reduce the pool? Or are they looking to identify people that have the right competencies?
Sure, that's a great observation and a great question, Ken. And I think you do make a great point. Although we do encourage our candidates to obtain these certifications or to continue their education in order to kind of differentiate themselves, right? Become that subject matter expert. We also absolutely encourage our clients to have conversations, right? Not just to glean everything from a piece of paper like the resume or the certification, because someone who may look, very well polished on paper, that doesn't always translate to being the best culture fit or the best for the role. So I would agree. Sometimes we do have candidates who do not have these certifications, who just have as strong of a background as someone who may have certifications. So continuing to encourage our clients, take it one step further, have those conversations.
I think that makes perfect sense. You need to be able to differentiate yourself in a way that speaks to your competencies and not just to your ability to prepare a resume. But you also need to have a good resume as well, right? It's not, you can't bank on just the interview. You need to make an impression so that you can get the interview.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Kaitlyn and Nick, thanks so much for being here, being part of the program.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for tuning in to the Source One podcast. Remember to visit us at sourceoneinc.com and read our blog at strategicsorcerer.com. Want to provide some feedback? Got an idea for a topic we should cover? Let us know by emailing prrequest@sourceoneinc.com. Thanks for listening.